to call the regular monthly meeting of January 2023. Full order at 7:30 p.m. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Baldowski.
Here.
Mr. Banta.
Here.
Dr. Budarlini.
Here.
Ms. Fayelovich. Present. Mrs. Mahan.
Present.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Here.
Mr. Spindel.
Present.
Ms. Yerman.
Present.
Mr. Barbarula.
Here. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Rec and the Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, place, and time thereof, was distributed on January 19, 2023. The items to be discussed during the closed work session, if needed, of the January 23, 2023 regular monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations and grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized to protect the public safety and property. The results of this discussion can be made public as soon as possible. Would everybody join me for a flag salute? Aiden, would you like to lead us in the flag
Yes.
salute, please?
Yes, Mr. Barbarula, I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna, you want me to let Aiden, or do you want to say something first?
No, just first I would like to thank all of our student reps for being here. This is, as I've said over here before to a couple of the board members, this is what it's all about, our students in front of us here tonight. This is why we do what we do. This is why this board is here making the tough decisions that they have to make as volunteers every month. It's for these students that are sitting here. I can't thank you enough for being here. I can't thank you enough for giving time up. I can't thank Aiden's whole entire family for being here tonight. There you go, Aiden, thumbs up. Aiden, Mathia, Judy, and Asha, our student reps this month, thank you so much. And Mr. President, if it's okay with you, have Aiden kick it off for us?
Absolutely.
All right, Aiden, your show.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening, Mr. Norcia, Dr. Lacantina, Mrs. DeFranco, and the entire Fairlawn Board of Education. My name is Ada Maloney, and I'm honored to be here representing Memorial Middle School, along with my fellow Memorial Student Representative, Matea. We are excited to share with you some amazing events that took place at both Thomas Jefferson and Memorial. We hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Very good.
Matea.
Good job.
Hello and good evening. My name is Juhi Pandit and I'm the 8th grade vice president here at TJ. Memorial and TJ would like to thank the central office administration and board members for helping to arrange a visit last week by Mr. Singleton to both schools. During this time, we reflect on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his work. Black History Month and International Holocaust Remembrance Day is an opportunity to learn from, honor, and remember victims of hate, as well as those who chose to help.
Chris Singleton is a former professional athlete drafted by the Chicago Cubs in 2017. On June 17, 2015, Evil walked into Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. He listened as parishioners prayed, then opened fire. He killed 9 and injured another. One of the 9 who perished was Chris's mother. Only 18 at this time, Chris has become an inspirational speaker and best-selling author who has shared his message of unity and racial reconciliation with NFL teams as well as multiple Fortune 500 companies across the country. He meets with over 100 organizations and thousands of students each year.
In Chris's words, ever since my mother was killed at my church back in 2015, it has become my mission to teach our young people to love one another despite their many differences. My mother's life was taken away because of racism, but I promise to keep using my voice to put an end to it.
Prior to the new year, Memorial hosted its annual Volley for Charity. In addition to an exciting volleyball tournament between 2 different grade levels, students and staff at Memorial donated over 500 toiletry items to the American Red Cross to assist disaster relief.
Last week, TJ delivered over 40 care packages to Hackensack Children's Hospital as part of our Christian's Kicks with Love from Peter holiday drive, in memory of Christian Tuardos and Peter Tysco. Each received a Vans backpack, pair of Vans shoes, and a gift card to Lids and Ulta. We would like to thank the Tysco family for their continued support and efforts to help others in memory of their son Peter, who died on January 17, 2022, of complications from sarcoma. In the spirit of giving, they have organized what will become an annual blood drive, which will take place this Saturday, January 28, 2023, in the TJ Gymnasium. To learn how you can participate and schedule an appointment, please check out the TJ homepage. Thank you all for this opportunity to be here. Over the past couple weeks, I must say that Carrollton High School has really been a full team. We've been doing a ton of events, so my report will be a little longer than usual, but that is a good thing because we're doing a lot of things. So I'll start off with our band, orchestra, and chorus concerts. We had our vocal concert on December 7th, our band concert on December 14th, and recently we had our orchestra concert on January 10th. All these concerts were an incredible success. There were a lot of people who came out, so thank you for all of those who came out to support. Also in December, we had our Winter Spirit Week and Pep Rally. So our Spirit Week was December 19th to 23rd. Overall, I would say it was a major, major success from the student body and faculty. If you follow the official SLHS Instagram page, you can see pictures from there. We had student, faculty, everyone really participating. It was a great time for everyone. On Friday, we had a door decorating contest, which is one of our favorite traditions, where students get to decorate doors with their homeroom teachers. And then we also had our first pep rally in a very, very long time on Friday. This included performances from our dance team, our cheer team, our marching band, and our color guard, as well as a class council relay obstacle course. So we had teachers, we had students, running across the gym the entire time. So it was a lot of fun, and it was definitely a great experience, especially kicking off break. After break, we had a class council sponsored collection of non-perishables and necessities, which we called The Drive, which took place January 17th to 20th during lunch period. And again, huge success. We had a lot of students bring in items, and that will all go back to the local community. So thank you to all of our class council officers and members who took part of that. It was really a student-led initiative. Students were running the entire thing, and it was really successful overall. Also January 17th to 19th, after school, National Honor Society students offered tutoring and tour classes. So this includes biology, chemistry, physics, modern world, and U.S. history, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, and pre-calc. There were a lot of students who came and got the help that they needed, especially for midterms that are coming up soon. It was really helpful to have the support that they needed. Speaking of midterms, they'll be starting this Thursday, so it'll be this Thursday, Friday, and then next Monday and Tuesday. Can't say the student body is very excited for midterms, but we are excited to get them over with. Besides that, we've also had our academic clubs, which are now in full season. This includes Model UN, Math League, all of our science leagues, academic decathlon, varsity law, and debate club. From what I've heard, debate club has been doing really well. They placed third in their last competition, and our other clubs are doing very well in their competitions as well. So thank you all for the support from all of that. Lastly, I want to mention, as the middle school representative said, all of our Peter Tishko events. Peter was a cherished member of the Fairlawn High School community and sadly passed away on January 17th, 2022. And so to honor his life and legacy, the Fairlawn High School community has started a number of events in his remembrance. So we have the swim team that was selling yellow ribbons last week during lunch periods, and all of these proceeds will be going to a pediatric cancer foundation. We also had a vet out on January 20th. Students and faculty participated in this. I would say the vast majority of everyone in the school really participated. It was a great way just to build support for this cause. And as they mentioned as well, we'll have our first annual blood drive on January 28th at TJ, this isn't a Fairlawn sponsored thing by any chance. Fairlawn High School isn't running it by any chance, but it is being promoted by SGA. So that's something that we're doing just to make bring awareness to it. So yeah, besides that, that's all I have.
That's it?
It's a lot.
Great job, everyone.
On behalf of the board, I want to thank you all for being here. Also, it's a tribute to all of these, all the schools, and our staff and administration, for all the charitable work that you do, and the donations that you do for the people that need it, and that's just a great thing that, you know, you can't, some people don't really see all the time. So I want to compliment you on everything that he's did. I really would have loved to see that obstacle course. That would have been, that somebody should have put that on YouTube or someplace. But thank you again, really appreciate it. We look forward to having you again next month. Hopefully next month will be even busier, so. And Aiden, thank you so much for everything you've been trying.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to see you, and you're welcome here anytime. Anytime, okay?
And I watch these meetings on YouTube. Every time we have a meeting, including the next one in February, the beginning of February.
Good.
That's awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're gonna take a minute.
I heard.
Great job, right?
Right chairs,
Good.
right
Glad we got there. You like it back?
Yes, thank you. And you got yours, I saw. Yeah.
See you over at Memorial. See you soon,
He said to
right?
throw it out.
Pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
No, I got it, thank you so much.
As always, great job, right?
I know. When I have to wait like a month, when I have to wait like a month and a half for time to come, I have to.
Nice to meet you. Really a wonderful job.
It's all right. It's all right. We like it. Take care.
And I take notes.
Okay. All right. All right.
That's awesome. Well, not all of it, there's a lot more.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
More important than family. They weren't teaching much yesterday.
Just sit there and watch. Yeah, yeah. You could manage. Here, you sit. Nice to see you. Better feng shui. Now we can move on. I feel like I was sitting on top of it. No, we got it, don't worry.
No, we do, of course.
Come see it.
It's unbelievable.
Doesn't it say here? Remember that? He said
No, it says the diversity, but I thought it's the diversity of services provided by the center.
No, we got. Someone left their phone.
It's definitely single. I asked, is it included together?
Right?
Yeah.
I would think it's in there.
Exactly like.
You guys didn't tell me that got break.
Oh, come on. He does.
Yes, he does.
You entertain yourself when kids don't even know English.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Okay, they are. Generation.
Okay, we're gonna continue. Ready? Well, we're up to the comments. So, when you're done moving furniture.
Then with your day job.
All right, so I'm gonna turn it over now to the superintendent for superintendent comments.
Great, thank you so much, appreciate it. It's gonna be hard to follow up on that, but I do have some really great news, and that stays there. We do have some great news to acknowledge all of our Governor Educator of the Year recipients, our teachers, as well as our ed specialists, and I'm gonna read them out off to you. I am not even gonna pretend to look at that board because my eyesight is going, so I'm gonna read them off of our screen. Annie Yan at Fairlawn High School, English teacher. Elise Meltzer at Fairlawn High School is our Ed Specialist of the Year. At TJ Middle School, Renee Taramina and Iona Friedman. At Memorial Middle School, Anthony Pizzuta and Michael Opp. At Forest School, Kathy Seneca and Anna Baguska. At Lincrest, Patty Burke and Sharon Kelly. At Milton School, Ashley Brown and Gail Sachansky. At Bradburn School, Sarah Orlowski and Carol Ann Kavanaugh. At Warren Point School, Ann O'Malley and Ann Telewick. Westmoreland School, Catherine Dunleavy and Patricia Belmonte. At Edison School, Sarah Vargas and Jill Garcia. We can give a round of applause to all of the specialists of the year. You know, to have 1,000 employees and to be nominated and acknowledged like this is quite an honor in a district like Fairlawn. In addition, several of the names that are on here are also up for the Bergen County Teacher of the Year Award as well. So we're all hoping, we all know they're deserving of that award, and hopefully the rest of Bergen County does as well. So thank you so much, and we wish them well. The next thing on my topic is we have moved all of our monthly meetings here to Edison, back to room 19. We advertised it everywhere. I did a school messenger to the community, and we will continue to make sure that that message is out there, that we will be hosting our meetings back here in room 19 at the board office. I thank you for everybody who accommodated that. In addition, can you put the enrollment analysis up there? That's it, thank you. In addition to that, the school calendar for the 23-24 and 24-25 school year has been pulled from the agenda. We are going to do a little more analysis of that and present it at a future meeting. So we will be sharing more information in the future on the upcoming school calendars. So, all right, great. So in front of you, and I will email it to the board as well, and this is actually portrayed on the YouTube screen right now, for those at home that are watching, is the analysis of our enrollment. I presented one in October, which represented the September enrollment numbers. This is January's update, which is utilizing the December data. I'm gonna walk around so I can see it a little bit better. On here is, you will see an increase of 58 students from the beginning of the school year till now. Now, the 58 number is a little bit deceiving. The reason why is 10 of those students are Edison students. Those students have been identified either through early intervention, through classification. It doesn't mean necessarily that those 10 students moved into Fairlawn, they just may be newly identified as special education. So you're really looking at a number of around 48 students. 48 students spread out through the district. You can see is something that we are keeping an eye on. One area that I will point out to you that is getting a little concerning to me is Warren Point. We have 11 new students that are entering Warren Point, which is creating some higher class sizes that I'd like to see, that I would like to see. So we will be monitoring Warren Point's class sizes. You can see at Memorial, we had no additional students. TJ, we had an additional 14 students, and the high school, an additional 5 students. So right now, since the beginning of the school year, we're up about 50 students, give or take. So that's where we are with our numbers. We'll continue to monitor that. In addition, our architects conducted a facility use audit of our classrooms at the secondary level, especially because of the bubble that we are projected due to our demographer, Dr. Richard Grip. So we should have that report in the near future. That'll give us an idea of what our classrooms look like, and if we're utilizing all our classrooms efficiently, or we need to move some things around here in district. So as promised, in the beginning of the year, during the summer, we'll continue to monitor our enrollment numbers, and we'll continue to report out to the board. This will not just be a once-a-year thing, but every couple of months. So as promised, these are our December numbers, and I will give you another update in the near future. Mr. President, those are all my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. At this time, we're gonna open up the meeting to public comment. This is the public portion on the agenda items only. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions on the current agenda. Please provide your name and municipality in which you reside and sign in. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and specify the resolution you're referring to in your question or comment. This is not a dialogue between the speaker and the board. All comments will be taken at once, and when public comments are complete, the board president or the district administration will respond as best as they can. During the public portion of the meeting for other business, the same procedure will apply. Does anybody from the public have anything to say? If you do, please step up to the podium. Just state your name, and not give us your address, and sign in and ask your question. Okay. Is there anything on Google Forms?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. At this time, then I'm gonna.
Sorry,
No.
somebody,
Hold on.
this was an old response, but it wasn't right now, and it's been open, but it was from Jody Barry, wanted to congratulate the 22-23 recipients of the Governor Educator and Specialist of the Year Award. Thank you for all of your time and commitment you give the students at Fairlawn. Your hard work and dedication is recognized. Way to go.
Anything else?
Nope.
At this time, I'm gonna open up to board comments. Julie?
So I first just wanted to congratulate the educators and specialists of the year. What you guys do every single day is difficult and challenging and amazing, and I am so grateful. Special thank you to Mrs. Brown and Ms. Chansky and Ms. Baguska. Ms. Brown and Ms. Chansky have a special impact on my own children, and personal thanks to Ms. Baguski because she is my child, both my boys' second mom outside of this school. Additionally, special congratulations to our retirees, especially Mrs. O. She has had such an impact on every single child who she has worked with over the years as a paraprofessional, and she has an particularly special impact on my children as well. Thank you to Flace for the kitchen cart and appliances, for Fairlawn High School, Warren Point's PTA for One Book, One School, and we may all think that that is particular to Warren Point, but what's really amazing is that those books actually rotate in and out of all of the elementary schools, so that's not a donation just for all the students of Warren Point, but for the students of all 6 elementary schools, so I'm so grateful. And then, last but not least, a special thanks to Fairlawn All Sports for the scoreboard at Memorial Middle School. That's it.
Mike?
Hi, I don't wanna repeat a lot of what Julie said, but again, congratulations to the retirees. And the educators of the year, you know, it's always interesting to me as a teacher to see the educators of the year, and I go to look and who I recognize and stuff like that, but it's something that the teachers really appreciate, and I know from experience that it really is a nice program, and I congratulate all the teachers. I love 6B. I loved reading the trips. You know, last year, because of COVID, there wasn't really field trips, and now this time of year, we're voting on a lot of trips to the library from our elementary schools. And I think that's important, because we have, you know, I would say a library that can't be beat in this town, and the fact that we're availing ourselves. I also I look forward to hearing how the Model UN Club does and the Varsity Law Club does, but keep those trips going. And the last thing I want to say is, again, that thank you to Fleece and the Warren Point PTA, but it was funny because my son texted me the other night from Memorial. My granddaughter was at a basketball game, and she says, "You guys really need to change the scoreboard at Memorial." And all sports, thanks to all sports, they're changing the scoreboard to at Memorial. So thank you, all sports. And it happens to be that, for the most part, it's all sports using the Memorial Gym for their programs. So it actually kind of makes sense that all sports is doing that, but thank you, because it's a big chunk of that $10,000, so big chunk of change. Thank you.
Mark?
I too want to thank the recipients of the Governor's Education Awards, and not to take anything away from them, but I also do want to thank all of our staff, from the paraprofessionals, teachers, to the custodians, etc., secretaries, for all that they do to make this district an outstanding district. So thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
To be a bit repetitive, also wanted to recognize the Governor Educators of the Year Award for recipients, highlighting both educators and specialists, that it takes more than, it takes an entire village to make the schools run. Special shout out to Mrs. Taramina from TJ Middle School, who truly made history come alive when I was a student there, whether it was wagon races like we were on the Oregon Trail, or fighting battles of the Revolutionary War. I also, as Mike said, the number of extracurricular trips is incredible. We have 32 that will be proven tonight, which is such a drastic change from just a few months ago. So it's great to see that our classrooms are coming alive outside of the schools as well. Thank you.
Read it.
I'm sorry, can you pull up that chart again, because it's not on the agenda that you only just presented a couple of minutes ago? I was looking at it, it's not on the agenda, right? Or I misunderstood.
No, it's not.
So, well, I did that, well, he picked it up, I guess I'm gonna, so today we approved the Gifted and Talented program. Oh, good, before I just make sure. So the demographic prediction October 15, is that means that's the capacity that we should have, or what's the capacity? Like, what is the demographic says it's like full capacity?
No, that's not the capacity, that's just what Dr. Grip predicted where we would be. I do not have the capacity on this one, but I could put how many empty seats. Hopefully I'll have a better idea of what the architect says, but also for the elementary school, I can tell you the next time I do it, how many empty seats are left in each school.
So I looked at Bradburn, and the prediction was 357, and we have 391, so 134 students. Does that mean that we are over already?
No, he's predicting 357. We're over what he predicted, which is something that at the last meeting I had said we need to keep an eye on Bradburn, because it is concerning where we are, but we still have many empty seats at Bradburn, so we're not at capacity. The reason why I pointed out Warren Point and not Bradburn tonight was because Warren Point wasn't as concerning at the last meeting, but since the last meeting, we've seen a big spike in Warren Point in the last couple of months.
Gotcha. And you would put, when it would be possible, he also put a prediction, right, of the full capacity, what's considered full capacity?
That is the prediction, that's his prediction on where we would be.
But it doesn't say that, he never put the what's full capacity.
I would have to go back and read his report, I'm not sure.
Okay, my number 2 question is, we did Gifted and Talented audit, and I think that's really great, but there were a couple of things that at least I misunderstood, or maybe as I read it twice, I wasn't sure if those things were included. One of the things is, do you have a Gifted and Talented program for art and music? And that was one of the questions I wanted to, maybe it's included into our curriculum because we don't have the curriculum, so I'm not sure. Is that something that the audit will look at, the analyze the diversity of providing the different subjects? And if we are doing best practices?
Well, I'll answer the second part. Yes, best practices is going to be part of our gifted and talented audit. We do not offer a reach for art and music, per se. So I'm not sure if that's something that she's gonna include in it, but, you know, when she starts, we can ask her. Hopefully it gets approved tonight.
Okay, so can we ask her to see if that's best practices or not, by not including that?
I would,
Or maybe it is infused into our curriculum that I might not, we are not aware of, that's.
I would like to see what her recommendations are when she looks at our whole entire program and then brings it back to us as a professional.
Number two question is, how often, will she analyze how often we pull out our students for our pull-ins, pull-outs, and, like, is that enough, is that best practices, is that part of the? Because the amount is also important, like, what we provide is good, but the amount of how often we do it, should be also considered.
I can't speak for the gifted and talented professional who's gonna be doing this. I had provided the board, the detailed breakdown of what her cost encompasses. I had answered many questions on it earlier in the week, but I can't, speak to exactly what Meredith Thomas is going to look at until she's actually here.
Because I would hope if we can ask her to also look at that, because I think that's important to make sure that the quantity is best practice. If it's once a week, twice a week, what is considered best practice? Because as an audit, I think it's important. I actually emailed you all these 4 questions, and you said if the majority of the board requested these changes, we would change the proposal. So I was hoping that this could be actually considered in the proposal so that we have an audit and we see everything from every angle.
So, yes, you are correct, and I didn't hear back from anybody. If the majority of the board would like us to pull this audit, go back to Meredith Thomas, and have her add things or ask her more questions, I would be happy to do that. However, what I did say to the board was, and I'm completely fine with it, it's up to the board. If you want, there's a good chance that we probably won't start until next year, because that aggressive timeline we had for the remainder of this school year, and the projects that she has on her back burner, will probably go into next year. I'm fine doing it next year if you want, but if it was the majority of the board wanted us to look into more things, I'll leave that up to you. I really don't mind, but I didn't hear back from anybody else.
Just so, I know you're not done, but I'm just gonna, you had a question, I have it in front of me, so that's why I wanna respond to you. It says, it does say here, if I'm reading it correctly, evaluate professional development needs and community priorities. So she has a whole list of stuff that she's gonna survey the community, the staff, everything, what we got, what we can do, and everything else. So to me, it seems like she's gonna probably look at every program that we have.
No, my question is, we pull out kids and we pull in kids.
I know.
So how often we do it? Professional development is making sure that we teachers
No, I know,
whoever.
I'm saying, you were asking about like the art and all that other
Yeah.
stuff, so by reading this, I think she's gonna look into that. But then she'll probably add in, you know, we can ask about if the rest of the board wants it, we can add like the time they're gonna pull out the kids and everything else like that, so. I got your hands, I got you guys.
And another thing I wanted to know is, we looked at the audit and it doesn't really say what it focuses, because you said it was focused on K through 6, but it really doesn't have anything that says K through 6 in the audit. And I was hoping it would be focused on K through 4, because that's the pull-ins and the pull-outs, because once you get into the middle school, you get honors classes, which I think, in my opinion, I could be wrong, that's the gifted and talented have honors classes. Am I over my minutes?
No.
Oh, you were raising my hand.
No, I'm raising my hand because it's a habit.
Okay.
But I
I'm
just
sorry.
wanted to respond to you, because right here it says framework focuses on eligibility for services and specifies clear tiers of services guided by best practices and current research in gifted education for grades K to 8. So that's gonna be part of our order.
Well, that's the thing, it's K through 8, it should be K through 4, because once you get to middle school, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you can pick any math, you can pick a math teacher, you have 9 teachers.
No, like I said,
Not in 5th grade.
Not 5th or 6th.
Not in 6th grade.
no,
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I spoke to a couple of parents and that's what they said.
but that they can pick their teachers?
No, that they have 9 different, teachers, they don't stay in the same classroom all day.
Depends on where we are, but go ahead.
Okay, so these are my concerns about the gifted and talented audit. Another thing is we are replacing the floors 10F, and one of the floors that we're replacing is this room. What's wrong with the floors here? Maybe I'm missing something, or misunderstood something.
We had cabinets back there and flooring that needed to be ripped up so that we could actually finish it and fix it so that we could hold our meetings back here again.
So this floor is already done?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, so we're approving once it's, those things already done? We're
Yeah,
not approving before?
correct.
Oh, okay, so that's what confused me. Okay. Another.
There were some people that wanted new carpet in here, so if you want, we could maybe talk about that, but
I didn't understand,
No, I'm
that's
just
why I
kidding.
wanted to make sure I understand, because I was thinking, looking at the floor, it looks perfectly fine. Okay, so, one of the things for the community school, and I hope the administration could consider, we have a mark,
You got 30 seconds.
I'm gonna come back again, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
We have a markup for the volleyball climate and the crossword, for 35% and 25% crossword course. I was hoping that in the future, maybe Fairlawn residents wouldn't be part of the markup, they would just get the cost, because they pay taxes and they're also, so I would hope that that would be like something that the community school can offer Fairlawn residents. Okay, and then I'll come back for my other,
Thank you. Julie?
I thought that Rita's question was like opening it up for discussion.
Whatever you want.
I think that's what Mark and I both thought,
Okay,
correct?
well, no, you're next, and then Mark can go. So.
Okay, I just wanted to point out in the audit that it actually refers to best practice across the board, and the administration chose her as an expert. So we have to trust that she's going to look at all areas of what our program currently offers to determine if it is working, not working, and what needs improvement. So I'm unsure whether any of us are G&T experts, but we have to trust that she's going to do that, and at this point, I think we're getting into the weeds by telling her what we're looking for, because none of us have that expertise, and it actually refers a lot to what you're saying in this language here. And the second thing is that our 5th and 6th grade language arts and math programs are actually part of our G&T program. They, in the 5th grade, they're still pull out in sports, and in the 6th grade, you have to place into the program. And then in 7th grade and 8th grade is when there's honors-based track classes. So I still think that at this level, K to 8, that's really beneficial, because if you look at where our kids are in 5 and 6 as they're still transitioning to the middle school, this is still really new. They're getting their footing and their grounding, and they don't always necessarily know what they're looking for and what they have to do in 6th grade in order to be ready for the science honors, math honors, social studies honors, and then they realize that they're behind and they want to be part of something in 7th grade. So this can help us, help our students see what they need to do and be prepared for, so they can get into those higher level classes when it's their time. So I don't necessarily know if you realized that our 5 and 6 it's still considered G&T programming. They're called seminars. That was it.
Mark?
Yes, Rita did make some very valid points about the number of sessions that a child has pulled out, as well as about the arts. However, I do not want to have another month delay on this gifted and talented program. We've delayed it too long at this point, and the way we're going, these new concerns or ideas that she's going to bring to us will never be implemented. So she is the professional. She's done a multitude of these type of audits. We've trusted her by selecting her, and I think she will address all of our concerns by the time this audit is over. Thank you.
Anything else? You're up, Rita.
Okay, so if the board doesn't want to delay this, we can maybe make an addendum to our contract to add a couple of these things as she's looking for it. So I hope that could be considered, and maybe it's an extra fee, but it's worth it to make sure that we look at every angle of the gifted and talented program. Another thing that I want to talk about is the violins. I'm a violin player, ex-violin player, but I still played violin for the high school for many, many years. And I looked at the cost, and we said that we were going to keep 10 violins. Is that correct, Mr. Garcia?
Correct.
So in 6 schools, 10 violins is a very small amount of violins. And I looked at the prices to fix them. Most of them are less than one half, and some of them are 1/4 prices and 1/3 of a price of fixing them. I was wondering if we can actually save a little bit more, even if we pay a little, so that every school has a 3 or 4 violins for in case a child forgets or a child doesn't have money to buy a violin, so that every school has at least, because 10 violins for 6 schools is very limited.
You're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
I am following the recommendations of our supervisor of world languages and our assistant superintendent, who have spent countless hours at the request of the board to analyze the discards. We've been working with the company as well as our administration, and this is what they recommended to us, that they feel we would be sufficed based off of the need of our students who may ask if we have one to borrow or not. Our district, families rent them and use them. We don't provide them. There's also not a need for violins that small anymore in the district. So at this point, I mean, we've spent hours and hours and hours, countless hours ad nauseum in looking into the violins. I brought back to you our recommendations, and that's what's before you for the discard. We can't even discard them. Nobody wants them. Everybody we ask says no thank you. We have another company we reached out to. We were hoping to hear back by today. We asked Friends of Music. They have nowhere for them. So I mean, we're doing everything possible to give these things away, and everyone we try to talk to about fixing them says no, and could you get them out of here as quick as possible because we don't have room for them. Seems to be the common theme. So at this point, I provided you with our professional recommendation on what we can do with it. I'll leave it up to the board if you want us to fix more violins that we don't feel we have a need for.
In my opinion, I feel like some kids don't have the money, and they might, if there's only 10 violins, they might not have an opportunity to play the violin. And if it's $70 to fix it or $130 from a budget of $120 million, I think even if we spend $1,000 fixing violins and making sure that every child has a chance to play this beautiful instrument, to me that's something. And plus, it's being green as well. We're discarding them. We're actually using them again and reusing them. That's just my opinion. And the last thing is 3A. I emailed you regarding one of the minutes of the policy meeting. I actually made a motion, and another board member who's no longer here seconded the motion, but it's not on the agenda. And you said you would look at the minutes, the video, and the minutes have never changed. So I will respectfully not vote yes because they're not accurate. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comments on the agenda? Okay, seeing none? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings of the policy meeting, December 5th, the closed session, December 12th, the rescheduled monthly meeting, December 12th, and the organization meeting, January 5th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, make it work. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Abstain from the policy meeting on December 5th, yes on everything else.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Fay-Veldich?
No.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindel?
Yes.
Ms. Yerman?
Abstain on everything but the organization meeting. I didn't say the organization meeting.
Yes,
And Mr. Barbarella?
correct. Abstain on the policy meeting, December 5th, yes on everything else.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, can I get a motion on items 5A to F?
So moved. Second.
I got Mike and who's? Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Aye.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Fay-Veldich?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarola?
Yes, I just want to make a note that I apologize, my mistake. D wasn't involved in that. Because I said 5A to F, but D was taken off the agenda. Okay,
5A
so
through 5G.
5, yes, go ahead.
So, we do not have an agenda item on the HIV appeal that you heard in exec. I would like to add that here as 5G, I guess.
5, well, there it is.
We'll leave it at the business administrator's discretion. She can select the letter that is appropriate. It's her great privilege. That will be a motion to approve the administrative recommendation as to the HIV. So a vote in favor will be denying the appeal. Everybody understand that? Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote, please.
Do I have a motion?
I need a motion.
So, second.
Thank you.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich?
No.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes. Aye.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
No.
Mr. Barbarola?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, can I get a motion to approve education items 6A to D?
So moved.
Second.
Mike, Joe, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich?
Abstain on 7C?
We're on 6.
Oh, then yes. Sorry.
That's okay. No problem, I just want to make sure you do it.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarola?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, now we're on 7. That's all right. Gotta laugh once in a while. If you don't laugh, that's too short. Okay, can I have a motion on approval of personnel items 7A to I?
So moved.
Second.
Julie and Mark. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich?
Abstain on 7C?
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarola?
Yes, just a point of information, years ago, we had a board member vote no on retirements because they didn't want to see the teachers leave. They said yes, but they was like, I don't want to lose them. All right, can I get a motion for items 8A and B?
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Jean. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarola?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, can I get, community school, can I get a motion for items 9A to F?
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Julie. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarola?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, can I get a motion for finance items 10A to M?
So moved.
Second.
Jean and Mike. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich?
No on 10A?
10A?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Spindel,
Yes.
Ms. Yerman,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, this time I'm gonna open up the meeting to public comments on anything they would like to speak about. Again, the same rules apply as before. If you wish to speak, please step to the podium, state your name, of course, where you're from, and sign the paper, and you can speak about whatever you want to speak about. So one extra pen?
I got it.
Invisible ink.
Oh, all right.
So much pressure.
Okay, once you guys can open the pen.
Christine Weinstein, Burbank Street, Fairlawn. I just wanted to make a note about the new website. It's very nice, it's very pretty, but PTA is buried in the website. Is there any way to move,
Yes.
have a button on each of the schools' homepage for PTAs? 'Cause
We can look into that. Yeah.
that would be great, because you have to click a few times to even kind of find us. So I would appreciate that, thank you.
Sorry, I'm supposed to wait.
That's all right. Did you address the issue I talked about? Anybody else? Anybody else wants to speak?
It's the pen.
Wow.
It writes if it's sticking out just a little bit. With the top.
Don't feel about that.
You can see that I'm here too, just saying. Jean Brown from 3rd Street. So I, just wanted to come and do my, bi-monthly question about like what's going on with the mental health, proposal for, student athletes in our district. I just wanted an update on where that was and what's going on with that.
Yeah, I will certainly follow up and get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Your turn.
I'm Marina Ashkenazi from Brewery Crescent. I have a longer speech. I wanted to ask for your help to pay attention to do something with the excessive computer usage by TJ school, by TJ kids. Our son is in 5th grade there. With this problem, I tried to contact the school principal, the technology department, and I emailed Mr. Norcia, and we got no real help. So first of all, almost all of their studies are conducted through the computer, and COVID is gone, but they are still studying through the computer. They rarely read books, they rarely write. In 6th grade, they stopped writing completely. Instead of discussions and dialogues, they post blog posts. They do not develop conversational skills, and this accumulates to hours of screen time every day. Our kid comes home tired with red eyes. The bigger problem is that the kids have unrestricted access to a lot of different computer games, and it happens right on the school premises during school hours. They play computer games during some of the periods. Sometimes these are so-called educational computer games. For example, Geometry Dash, you can go and look online. What is it? And I don't understand what is the educational value of this. There is like a character jumping on the screen to avoid spikes and explosions. 3 years ago, after work was done, a teacher would read to kids. They would discuss something that they studied. Now they just play computer games. Sometimes they play games that are supposed to be blocked, like Roblox. I was told that it is blocked, but sometimes kids unblock it, they hack it somehow. Why technology department cannot block computer games? I was told by the vice principal that many of the games are required for the education. Our kids says that sometimes kids play even during regular periods, regular lessons, when the teacher cannot see them, because it's impossible to supervise 22 kids and watch what they're doing all the time. They play during homeroom, they play during recess. At some point in autumn, computer usage during recess was restricted, but then the World Cup started and the principal allowed the kids to use Chromebooks during recess to watch the World Cup.
30
So they're,
seconds.
30 seconds, okay. Keep going.
okay, so, but the biggest, like two biggest problems are that all of this is accessible also at home when they have to do their homework. So one of the adults literally has to sit near the kid to watch that he is doing his IXL practice and not jump into computer gaming or to the YouTube. And the biggest problem is that kids have access to all YouTube content, age and appropriate, whatever they want, without any restrictions during school hours, on school computers, on school on school premises. They watch age and appropriate YouTube content, and I was told by the school administration that YouTube, this content, all of this is required for the school, for the education. I don't understand why the school exposes children to this. In all other towns around, YouTube is blocked completely or biggest part of it, and our school doesn't block it, and minors watch age and appropriate content while they're in school from school computers.
Okay.
And also they have around like 5 or 6 hours of screen time a day when they are only 10 years old. Please help us and do something. This is happening at
Okay.
TJ Middle School.
Okay, thank you very much. The administration will take a look at that. Thank you. Appreciate your coming here. Anybody else? Oh, do you have anything on Google Forms?
There is one comment on Google Forms, but is that it for public comments? We're closed.
I think so.
Yes.
We're closing public comments? Okay.
No questions, so.
Okay. So actually, based off of the feedback that we received, and I know that you had reached out and administration had spoken with you as well, we actually had a meeting in
They
this room.
didn't answer my question, actually, the administration of the school.
Ma'am, respectfully, it's not a
Sorry.
back and forth. The
Sorry.
superintendent's can respond to your comments, ma'am. Thank you.
We had a meeting in this room last week, and many of us were in here, administrators, technology staff, middle school principals, high school principals, and we started talking about that very question, about how do we, as much as we've embraced technology as a district and embraced one-to-one Chromebooks and devices at the high school, remember, we were a little late to the game when it came to providing one-to-one devices. And then COVID hit, and it kind of catapulted us, that we used federal funds to purchase more devices, and before you knew it, we were a one-to-one district. COVID ended. Now we're kind of trying to navigate those waters of our students and what they're on and what they're not on. We're trying. We put a meeting together where we talked about, as many things as we're blocking, they are opening up. The kids are quick when it comes to how to find loopholes in, what they can look at and what they can't look at. However, we are committed to continuing to look into that. This week, I'm attending a technology conference. This is something that I will be looking at while I'm there as well. We talked about bringing in our staff, talking to parents, talking to our surrounding districts who've been doing this for a while. What do they allow, what they don't? Just shutting down YouTube completely, when it's used for educational purposes at times, it may not be the right answer, but it's something that we did discuss. So there's a lot on the table. Our committee is meeting. We are committed to continue to work on that, because I understand where you're coming from. I really do. I have 2 kids at home too, and you have to keep an eye on them and what they're doing. Our goal was never for us to just have our devices and the kids just take off and that's it. We don't want that by any means. But when you have 6,000 kids almost, and you have to be lightning speed ahead of them, and it's really difficult because all of us, maybe all of us, I know myself certainly, we weren't born with these devices. These kids were all born in this world of devices and used them forever. So we're playing catch up to them, not the other way around. I'm not making a bad excuse by any means. I sympathize and I empathize with you, and we are committed to looking into it, and we will continue to look into it, and hopefully we have a solution to help combat what these students are on at recess, on downtime, and not just be a substitute for, you know, them to be in a device all the time and free will. So, thank you. I have from Olga Ginsburg on here. Thank you for incorporating the comments and feedback from parents on the website. However, the new site to me is not user-friendly and easy to navigate. It also came to my attention that some information was lost. Just wanted to bring it to your attention and hope those issues will be fixed soon. If there is anything, like Ms. Weinstein pointed out, please let us know, because it was a transition to a new site, and we are making tweaks here or there. And parents were really great at pointing some things out, and as quickly as they pointed them out, we were able to resolve it. Today, I noticed the live feed link, the YouTube feed, I wasn't on the board part of the app, so we were able to put it so it was easily accessible for families to just click on the YouTube thing. Parents pointed out the Genesis app, on the Genesis icon on the app. So I mean, your feedback, we hear it, and we jump on it as quick as possible. So I thank you for your feedback, and it is definitely helpful. Thank you for pulling the school calendars from today's meeting discussion. I know the virtual day as well as some other changes were concerning to many parents. Thank you for doing this. And special ed, I am grateful to all the paras and the work they do every day in our classrooms. As far as I understand, no special ed or training is required to start working as a paraprofessional in the district. Therefore, what resources are available and provide to our paras to ensure they qualify to work with the special needs children? Well, they go through a rigorous interview process with our special ed administrators, as well as the professional development that we provide all year long. Our paraprofessionals are required and want to participate in our professional development all year, and per contract, they're only required to be here a certain amount of days. However, they always ask for more. So when we have other professional development days, we include them in that as well, which has been really beneficial. Those are all the comments I have.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up to board comments on anything. Okay, and Ed, Rita, Mark, Lisa, Joe, all right, Ed, you're up.
Just two quick things. One, Go Guardian might be a program that would allow the teachers to check the kids instantly. So that's something to look into. I don't know if Fairlawn currently uses it. Secondly, a slight recommendation to look at consent agenda items, because we voted like 6 times in a row. We could have done that with one vote, and it could have moved the meeting along quicker. So not necessarily do everything consent agenda, but we start small and do a couple of the different numbers by consent, so everyone can vote once instead of voting 6 times on already passed. Those are my 2 points.
Thank you.
If you don't mind.
Yes.
Because we do use something very similar to Go Guardian, but that was part of our conversations when we were in that committee meeting here last week. And like I said, going to Texpo the next couple of days, it's these areas that we're gonna be looking at.
We use Dino at the middle school and Net Support at the elementary, at the high school, but the high school is looking to move to Dino as well.
We're piloting a couple different programs as well to see which ones work. You gotta remember too, that we have a different device at the high school than we do at the middle schools, so that's something that we're taking into consideration. But Go Guardian was something that we talked about as well.
Rita.
So I brought this up last time in the last policy meeting. Unfortunately, I was told that it's gonna be discussed in executive session. It was never discussed in executive session, and since we have a new board and it was never voted on, I'm gonna discuss it again. I think people with disabilities that are volunteers, or anyone who volunteers in our district, I appreciate tremendously. And I think people with disabilities that volunteer in our district should get proper accommodation within reason. So I'm gonna make a motion. People with disabilities that serve on the Board of Education, or volunteers, or anyone else who's not applying or working for the district should be given proper accommodation within reason by the law without providing a medical release form to the superintendent, or be asked what exactly the person's disability is. The person needs to just be asked for the accommodation and it should be provided.
I'll second.
Do you want me to repeat it again?
Yep. Let's do that one more time.
People,
That was a lot. Go ahead.
okay, I'll go slower. If I go too slow, just tell
No,
me
go
I'm
ahead.
too slow,
I got
okay?
it. Go ahead.
People with disabilities that serve on the Board of Education or volunteer in the district, or anyone else who is not applying to work in the district or work for the district. So these are the two groups that are not included in this motion.
Yeah, run that's second, I got it. Serve on the Board of Education, and what was the second part?
Volunteers or anyone else who's not applying to work in the district or work for the district should be given proper accommodation within reason by law, without providing a medical release form to the superintendent, or be asked what exactly the person's disability is. The person needs just to ask for the accommodation, and it should just be provided. Because, that's it. And then I will talk about it.
Okay, well, I got, I'm gonna read what I got. I write fast, not that fast. People with disabilities that serve on the Board of Ed, volunteers, and people who are not applying.
Or, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Volunteers or people who are not applying to work for the district.
Or work, or currently work in the district.
Okay, what you got after that?
Should be given proper accommodation within reason, according to the law,
Hold on. Proper consideration,
accommodations, proper
proper-
accommodations, I'm sorry.
you said accommodations, not consideration.
Yeah, within reason, without providing.
Yep, I
All
got
right,
it.
she's got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, all right, so I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments on the motion? Okay, hold on one second, everybody.
And Mr. Verblue, can I go last?
Can you up?
Can I go last? Oh, and everybody make comments?
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this?
That's fine. Okay, so, let me just write this down, Rita, Lisa, okay. Okay, so Joe, go ahead, and then we had Julie up and Mark had Go ahead, Joe.
Just so my clarification point to this, and maybe the attorney may answer this, but to me, this sort of sounds like a motion that the board should follow the law.
Right.
Is that?
It's not what the motion says.
No. But in practice, is that what?
So the current,
So would you like me to address that?
Yes, I would like to address that.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is essentially the creation of a different standard, which is kind of what the law is and kind of not.
Okay. That's it.
Julie,
So I just want to clarify, so we are going to enforce that our students and our staff are required to prove that they have a disability, however, our board members are not? Is that what we're asking?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna say the rest of my time, thank you.
okay. Mark?
I wanted to know what our legal opinion is on this, because as Julie just commented, anybody can say that they have a disability, but usually, if not always, there's always got to be proof to establish that you do have that legal, that disability. I mean, when you park your car in a handicapped spot, you have to have a tag that says handicap. Otherwise, anybody can be parking into that spot. So what is our legal opinion on that?
Yes, you may answer that question, sir. I really appreciate you doing that.
I agree with what you just articulated. And the law treats different folks in different ways. Members of the public, for example, coming to a sporting event might be treated differently than an employee who's requiring an ongoing accommodation. And oftentimes, the process will flow from the complexity of that accommodation. And I think similarly, when you're looking at the executive body of the school district, who are not members of the public, you're members of the public, but for purposes of requesting and receiving an accommodation, it's operational as to the operations of the entity. So my recommendation would certainly be that with all things, we follow the law, and we not create a disparate standard.
Lisa?
So I don't have the policy in front of me, but 1510, Fairlawn Policy 1510, which is a mandated policy from the state of Jersey, and it does not require, it just requires that if you know that they have a disability. I don't have the, so we can look it up and look it.
I have it in front of me.
Okay, so we go down to services, programs, and access, activity access. The district will make reasonable accommodations so that services, programs, and activities are readily accessible and usable by qualified individuals with disabilities. The district is not required to provide personal devices or services of a personal nature to qualified individuals with disabilities. That would be understood. Like if somebody needed a cane, we're not required to provide that.
So in that policy, excuse me?
That would be more than 504.
But I'm just saying is if it, the way I'm reading it, and I could be reading it incorrectly, the district will make reasonable accommodations so that the services, programs, and activities are readily accessible and usable by qualified individuals with disabilities. The district is not required to provide personal devices or services of a personal nature to qualified individuals with disabilities. So it's kind of like, you know, it's telling you gotta give it to somebody, but it's not saying the district is not required.
No, personal things, so like glasses, hearing aids.
Well, not necessarily, because it says a personal device could be a laptop. It could be a laptop, it could be, a personal device could be a bunch of things, or of a personal nature. I understand about that. I'm just saying the way I'm reading it, I'm not saying I'm right, I'm saying the way I'm interpreting it. But, you know, again, we can get into that. It's, you know, again, it's something that, you know, I think needs to, as the attorney has said, you know, want to follow the letters of the law. And that's another thing that, because that could be interpreted a few ways also, but we'll continue the discussion. Do you have anything else you want to add, Lisa? Because you're still,
No.
okay.
When you read that, you specifically stated qualified individuals. So how do you know that the person is qualified? So I think we have to establish the boundaries of what that phrase actually means. Because anybody can say they're qualified.
Can I make another suggestion?
You can make a suggestion before Mr. Bantle. Can I let Mr. Bantle speak?
No, please, that's what I was gonna say.
Mr. Bantle, you're, well, Mark, you were done, right?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, good.
I think that giving a board member special privileges because they're a board member is an ethical violation. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure if you tell person A, you have to do this, but person B, you're on the board, you don't have to. That is something that they're only getting because they're a board member. I think that is the most obvious definition of an ethical violation. So I think if we did this, we'd be violating ethics. We'd either have to open it to everybody, whatever you say goes, or we stick with the process we have now, where you fill out a form and whatever, I don't know the exact process, but I know there's a form involved that has to be filled out. And I know that there's other things that have to come into play. So to just say, oh, you're a board member, it's okay, we trust you. No, you can't do that. It's just not right for the rest of the public. And it's not right to the district that have to wade through these things to see who's telling the truth and who's not without any kind of backup. I'm done.
John, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so this is an important conversation, and anytime we're talking about access for persons with disabilities, particularly in light of ADA Title II, particularly in light of New Jersey law against discrimination, this is a very important conversation, and it's I think particularly important in a community of learners. When we consider what the mission is of the school district and why you all are here. So frankly, I applaud the conversation. And I applaud the fact that we're talking about the nature of accommodation to the executive. Because it is, and when I say the executive, meaning the executive body, there's actually cases where volunteers, regular volunteers within an organization, are concluded to be not protected at all by ADA. There are other cases that talk about owners of entities not being protected at all within, by ADA, because you're looking at oftentimes places of public accommodation, you're talking about employees, you're talking about students. So I think bringing up this conversation is a great conversation, and I would certainly suggest that a reasoned, informed review and analysis of these policies happen. I'm looking at policy 1510. It was last edited May 2017. It was first adopted in 2006.
There is an updated version of it that we don't have anymore.
Thank you. So this is something that, thank you, this is something that the policy committee, the board could review, could consider, and frankly, whether or not that Strauss policy addresses this issue, it very well may not. And whether or not this board wants to address it specifically, not just by way of policy, but also by way of its own procedures. Because you talk about qualified individual, a teacher who's reporting 186 days a year, an administrator who's here 300 some days a year, a coach that's here during a season. There are differences in the nature of accommodation that may be indicated than a member of the board who's here a couple times a month, maybe more. So my recommendation would be that an informed review and analysis of this by the board, if this is an ongoing conversation you want to have, by way of policy committee with the board of the whole or otherwise, certainly would be appropriate. That's all I got.
Rita, you want to speak? I'll add, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just, I think Mark makes a very valid point when it says qualified person. And again, how do you qualify for disability? Unless it's some kind of verification. So I think that word in the policy 1510 makes that you have to prove that you have a disability.
All right, Rita?
So currently.
Okay, you want to go first?
Yeah,
Okay.
to you, I mean, what do you have to do to make it a qualified individual? And so that's not in that policy, and it's not reflected in any other policy by Strauss Esme.
Is it in the regs?
I do not see it in the regs. And then the use of board docs is for those here as a visitor, board docs is a practice, not a policy or regulation. It was sort of a practice. So what I'd like to do is make a motion that says that as the
Respectfully, we have a motion on the floor.
You want-
Okay.
because, if you
Thank
want-
you.
No, I'm just saying, if you want,
Thank you.
no, I'm just saying, because if you want to put a second motion in, then I gotta go back. I gotta vote on the second, no, I'm just saying, just so you understand Robert's rules, you gotta vote on the second
Yeah.
motion first, then go back to the
Yeah,
first.
yeah, I got it.
Because everybody never
I know that.
understands
I
that.
know that.
It's always
I know
goes
that.
backwards, so.
Yes.
So anything, but go ahead, do you wanna continue speaking, or? Yeah. Yeah, but not doing anything yet.
No, just,
Okay, so go back to, you're
yeah,
done?
and then I'll hold for after.
All right, so we're still, so you made your comments, and now I'm gonna go to Rita.
Yes.
Can I chime in on one other thing?
Yes, go ahead, I
And-
want to say
and, you
something
know,
too, but I'll let Rita go first.
Thank you, doctor, for the comment. Qualified handicapped disabled person is defined following the Code of Federal Regulations in the regulation. But this also reinforces folks the peril of adopting rules which are different than what law is.
Okay, Rita.
Okay, so let me first describe the current process that our district wants me and other members of to follow. First, we have to provide a medical release. All my medical records for all my life, I have to sign away. No, that's what the paper
That's
says.
not what the paper
It
says.
says a medical release.
Okay, now we'll finish.
Can I just finish?
Go ahead, you can finish. Go ahead.
It has a medical release. Then I have to describe my job title. I don't have a job in this district. I do not work for this district. Then I have to ask, to get a paper copy of the agenda. That's what the district is currently running. I don't think, as a volunteer, if somebody volunteers in the district, I applaud you and I say thank you so much in advance. And I don't think if you should be providing your medical records to the administration in order to get an accommodation. To me, volunteer, you're spending your time where you could be with your family, but you're giving it back to the community. And to me, I applaud you and I say thank you. And as our speaker says, that's great. You're showing kindness and sweetness that you're actually doing this. And if you have a disability, and it's reasonable by making a paper, printout of a paper, so that the person can participate, I don't think it's just so like you have to give a medical release. I just think that's just a little bit above and beyond what you're doing. And second of all, when I joined the board, we got a PDF. Perfect, everything was great. We became board docs. You can't open it on your phone. You have to be on your laptop, 100%. You can't look at any charts because it creates a lot of anxiety. Then it also requires us to read hundreds of pages of policy on the computer for hours. It's not fair. I asked for a paper copy of the policy. That was all I asked, and I was denied. And we used to get them delivered to our houses. I used to come home, and I had a box that says, from the Board of Education. It was a big yellow envelope. And we got a binder, and I read every single policy. Every night I spent hours reading the policies after my daughter went there. And I'm not asking for huge special privileges, rolling out the carpet. We spent $10,000 of taxpayers' money to make sure that people with disabilities don't get proper accommodated. That's what it is. We paid for a program with taxpayer money so that people will not be, included. And that's wrong. Before, if you have board docs, great. And if you want to print a copy, just ask and they'll be provided. I have friends from other districts, and I asked them, what's your policy regarding this? Because I'm just curious. And they said, you just ask and it gets printed. What's the big deal? And one of them started laughing at me. They're like, you're kidding, right? You have to get a medical release form? They started laughing at me like, you're kidding, right? They thought I was laughing and making a joke. And I don't think we should use taxpayer money to not allow people to be included. And, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pass the gavel. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna be honest, I think this is something that should be tabled and brought to the policy committee to relook at the policies. That's I'm entitled to my opinion. I passed the gavel, so I'm not speaking as the president. Second of all, the form that's asked, okay, could be a little misconstrued for employees. It is not asking for your entire medical records. You do not have, no doctor is gonna give your entire medical records unless they're talking to another doctor or there's a need for it. If somebody requires, and this happens in my employment where I am, because we sign the same thing, if they gotta talk about, like if I had back surgery and I need a special chair, and it's a $400 chair, they're gonna say, why are we buying a $400 chair? If my doctor says that's the only one, that's what happens. If they don't wanna buy it, that's different. Going back to what Mark said, anybody could say, I need this, okay? If you gotta get a disability tag for your car, you don't go to the DMV and they don't hand them to you. You gotta go through a strenuous thing to get the disability tag. It's not that, it's not easy, it's not just handed out. Third of all, we all voted as a board to go to board docs when this was brought by the administration. We all had a time as board members, 9 of us to vote no, 5 to vote no, 4 to vote no, whatever it was. At that time, the majority ruled, we decided to save tons and tons of paper of sending stuff home. Also, you can print this on your own if you don't want to. I can understand that. You don't want to spend the money in paper and ink. Totally respect that. I know in the past when I printed some of the agendas, it was a lot of papers, and especially when they changed, I used to call up and say, you got any more changes? Because I don't feel like printing 85 pages and I got to print another 90. I'm not wasting my time. Lastly, also reasonable. So if for some reason they find out what it is, There could be other accommodations that might make it even easier, whether it's a bigger monitor, whether it's something, maybe this has to be printed out, whatever the case has to be. I am all for, I have handicapped, people with disabilities in my family, my father was, his whole life. So I'm all for giving everybody anything. I am major in my job as a construction official, big on the act. I know it by heart, because I deal with it every day in buildings, okay? But I think we need to discuss this and find out what the medium is, that we can all come together to make it easier for everybody, get it in the policy, so going forward, where we separate employment and volunteers, it's all written in the policy, and I think that would be the best way for us to approach this. We have a policy meeting coming up next week and a half from now, and I believe that would be a good time to speak about it. But again, that's my opinion. It's this board, you wanna vote on this motion, we can vote on the motion, and even if whatever happens, we can continue to talk about it, but that's up to you. Now I'll take the gavel back. Julie.
So I just wanna be clear again, I said it, I heard Mark, I heard Jean, I hear everyone, but there is something to be said about the 9 of us sitting around this table for the students of Fairlawn. And we ask every single student who requires an additional accommodation, who may or may not require special education related services, or an IRS plan, or a 504 plan, to go through rigorous testing, provide medical accommodation as needed. But we're sitting here asking to be given accommodations without going through a similar process. What would be considered reasonable? What's considered a proper process? We made a decision as a board to go green and push our green initiative. We have paper flyers, paperless flyers. We no longer send home papers. You think parents don't want those? I'd love to put those on my child's corkboard or on my refrigerator, because it helps me organize. That doesn't mean I should ask for it, even if it was a disability. If I needed that, that's something that I would have to ask my children's principal and then go through the same process, because who am I to say I have something and not have to prove that that's the case? Our kids are entitled to what they're entitled to, but they still have to go through the same process. And I don't think it's fair to say, just because we don't want to fill documentation and paperwork out because we're volunteers, that we should just take someone's word for it, because it's not always just going to be a paper copy of an agenda. We may one day have a PTA member who is either maybe blind or maybe deaf and needs significant accommodations to attend their child's monthly PTA meeting. That's gonna cost our district really significantly. Should we take their word for it? I would love to always take someone's word for it. That being said, as a PTA member, they're a volunteer. Why are we any different to fill out that documentation than they are? And lastly, I'd like to call the question.
So there's a motion to call the question, which would end debate if there is a second on that.
Second.
Okay, there's a second. So we would now have a roll call on the calling of the question, which would end debate of the prior motion. Everybody understand what's happening? So, yes, so Julie made a motion, seconded by Jean, to call the question, which would end debate on your first motion. And we now have a roll call on that calling of the question. So a vote yes means we end debate and we go directly to a roll call vote of your motion. A no means debate can continue. Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Faye Velovich?
No.
Ms. Mahan?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yorman?
No.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Roll call vote on the first motion, please.
And then the first motion.
Everybody understand what we're doing?
No, repeat what you just said.
The calling of the question motion passed, so we now proceed to a roll call vote on Rita's motion. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, yes means to pass, no means it's not made by?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mr. Baldowski?
No.
Mr. Banta?
No.
Dr. Bertolini?
No.
Ms. Faye Velovich?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
No.
Mr. Rosenberg?
No.
Mr. Spindell?
No.
Ms. Yerman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarella?
No.
Motion passes.
Motion fails.
Sorry.
Motion fails. Okay, that's something that I still think we will look into with policy. Okay, any other comments by the board, any business? Mark?
Yeah, first, I appreciate you putting this on the policy meeting for further discussion, because I don't think tonight is the night to discuss it. Also, I would appreciate if you could consider revising the form that Rita spoke about, that basically deals with personnel and not volunteers, if it needs revision.
If you don't mind, since we aired everything tonight, other than my shoe size, I think that.
12.
I'll get out of here. Oh, thank you, Gene. 9.5.
Well, there it is. That's everything. That's everything.
That's all it. Everybody hear that at home?
This is the part where YouTube goes down.
Next we're gonna get.
You guys are gonna have to edit tomorrow.
Next we're gonna go to shoes.
Thank you.
But go ahead, did you want to explain?
I believe that was part of the dialogue this weekend on maybe the form should be revised, watered down more for a volunteer or a board member. If you go on our website, our HR website, there is a link to the reasonable accommodation form. Can we ask anybody? HR, our Director of Human Resources, please, it's in there, it's on her website, reasonable accommodation form. There's a link right for it. Because this is something that is so common, especially during a COVID world and coming out of a post-COVID world, where people required accommodations. So, I'm not weighing in either way, just letting you know that that was a dialogue that happened this weekend about just if the form was, so it's not more geared towards an employee, but it's still a form that speaks to everybody's point tonight. That's it.
I'm not gonna debate, can
Listen,
Just to add on to that.
what was the first thing you said before that?
I agree that it should be
Oh,
further discussed at a
Oh,
policy meeting rather than tonight.
Sorry.
I also have another
I'll
comment
get,
after.
if you want to finish them, and then I'll come back to policy meeting.
Yeah, the other thing is, back in November and December, I brought up, and it was my concern, the committee structure, small committee versus whole committee. And the president at that time said that we should wait until the new board takes office before we further discuss what we actually want to do. So sometime in the future, near future if possible, whatever committee is the proper committee to have this discussed in, I would appreciate it if it were placed on the agenda so that we can see if we're going to continue with small committees or have more committees of the whole.
No problem. I would probably suggest, Mark, I would like to talk to administration and also board members if we have a few other items, make it a work session.
Fine, you can,
Excuse me?
so we'll have a committee.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, so I'm not defining committee, but I'm just saying, so I would look into it. And I will also gather some information that we'll have for all the board members to chew on before we get to the meeting, so they're up to date when they can bring their thoughts to it.
Will the committee be done by shoe size or not?
I don't know. Depends on how. Lisa. go
Can I
ahead.
just
Go
answer
ahead.
Mark's thing about the policy real quick? We have a policy committee, you guys are just like, they have a policy committee on February 2nd. We have a number of policies that are on there that the whole board received. This is part of our policy audit that we began and that we're moving towards. We are in the 5,000 section. There are so many in the 5,000 section that we chunked it into 2 different meetings of the 5,000 section. I'm not telling you that this isn't important on what you discussed tonight. We just need to know, we only have an hour that night, because then we have our district goal update right after that. So, we know this conversation is not gonna be a quick one when you have it, So you just have to, I'll follow the board's direction, what and when you wanna have this conversation, because it's gonna be difficult. So either we're gonna table all those 5,000s, which we just sent everybody, and I don't think we should, but we gotta find another night to have that conversation.
What I'll do is, I will discuss with you, maybe what we'll do is, we'll bunch them together. We'll do the committee thing, and we'll do this all in one night. So this way, they'll both be, I'm not gonna say heated, they're gonna be, well, the committee, I mean, the committee thing, I'm not, I mean, it's, I don't think we should complicate it for 4 hours, okay? It's like, you want a small committee, you want a big committee, how do you wanna do the structure? Like I said, that's why I wanna gather some information from school boards, you know, stuff that we've done in the past, and again, like I said, when I got on the board, I think even when you were on the board when we first got, and I know Lisa was there, and Jean, like, we used to have like 22 committees. Like, everything was separate. And now we've merged it down to, I think, a decent size. So, so like I said, you know, we'll definitely work on it, and will not go forgotten by me. And then I also really do want to discuss this and get this put to bed so that we make sure everybody's comfortable and everybody will work together and stuff like that, okay?
I'm not kicking the can on this, but just buckle up, because February and March is really busy for us. It's super busy with a ton of meetings.
We're gonna find time, so, like you said, buckle up.
Things die down.
Lisa, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
So, through the fall, I had the pleasure of working around the community from house to house as many as I could. And there was one issue that just kept coming up. And I had said that at my first board meeting, I would make a motion. And what I'd like to do is make a motion for the administration to create a parent meeting for the sex education curriculum for the parents of each grade. And in the meeting, the parents need to know how, you know, for any new sex education curriculum that'll be discussed, as well as lesson plans. And so parents to be able to see what is being covered instead of just looking at, you know, kind of little tiny bullet points that don't go into any kind of grand detail. And a lot of the districts in the area have provided those types of workshops or parent meetings. So I want to make that motion. And if you don't, I can.
Are you ready to make your motion now? Got it?
I just need a second.
Me.
We need a second, okay.
Could we hear what the motion is again, please?
Yeah,
I'd like to hear what the motion was.
Yes, so I believe that the motion is to have the administration create a parent committee to discuss the sex ed curriculum.
Well, meeting.
Parent meeting.
Great, yeah. Parent meeting for the sex education curriculum for the parents of each grade.
K through 12?
K through 12?
What grades?
Oh,
Said every grade.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, so everybody.
I would say K through 5. K through 4.
K through 4.
Got it.
Read a second.
So this is for a parent meeting for each grade, grades K through 4, with regard to, you said sex ed.
Yeah.
The sex ed curriculum.
The new sex education.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion?
I'll jump in.
You can, you can jump in, you're allowed to make a comment.
Thank you. So
Questions or comments?
we have a very extensive website that many districts model theirs after on our elementary school health. I know you're new to the board. I encourage you to look at that. It's on the fairlawnschools.org. You go to district curriculum, elementary health, and it goes very in depth, even to the part of talking about sensitive topics and specifically how we teach these lessons. In addition, every family in elementary school, we utilize the Great Body Shop curriculum. It comes with a pamphlet of what exactly we're teaching, and when we're teaching it, the pamphlet goes home in the backpack. So the families know exactly what we will be teaching. So there's no mystery to, oh my God, I can't believe this was taught in grade 2, because the parents receive it. In addition to a opt-out form that tells you what will be taught and when it will be taught so that parents can opt out. I am a parent of a second grader. This is a real conversation that happens in my house as well. So I get it, and I've spoke to this at meetings before. I applaud you for walking around town and meeting everyone, and hearing their concerns, but I will tell you that I do not think I've received, and I'm not welcoming it, but I do not think I've received one email about this. I'm hard pressed to tell you if I received 2 in the last year, and that may be a stretch. So to ask the administration to hold building level meetings at each grade level for a topic with the parents, for a topic that couldn't be any more transparent in Fair Lawn, and something I am proud of, and something that we give to our parents up front so that they know it's not just bullet points. It's not something that's hidden. It's very upfront. So I just ask the board to take that into consideration before, you take this vote on.
I got it. Okay. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, guys, turn the page. Okay, so I got you. I got Ed. I got Lisa. I got Mike. You have your hands up. Rita. I have Julie. Mark.
I didn't put my hand up.
Joe.
Sure, Mark?
Yeah, all right, why not?
Come on. Joe, come on, Joe. Rita, come on.
Okay, I got everybody, okay, in all honesty, this is a topic and I want to discuss. Say your piece and then we'll probably just go right to the vote, okay? We don't need to go around for 4 hours to talk about it, okay? And I'm not trying to micromanage the meeting, I've been doing this, but say your piece and let's move along. Gene, you're first.
In true Fair Lawn fashion, we have a solution in search of a problem. Like Nick said, I was president for 2 years. I did not get one email. We must have had 30 meetings since this was put into effect. I remember one person talking about it. In the middle of all the COVID stuff, somebody just said, you should look at this. That was it. In 2.5 or 3 years, we have had no complaints, except for, like I said, one person who spoke at a meeting in the middle of the COVID process, and nobody really paid any attention. No emails, no phone calls, no people at meetings, nobody coming up to me in ShopRite and saying, hey, what's going on? To start making this administration put in work for something that doesn't need to be worked on is definition of insanity. So, because 2 people here think that's in this room right now think it's important, but nobody else that we know of does. We're now going to spend probably 25 minutes talking about it. There's not a problem to be solved. So why are we doing this?
Ed.
As most of you know, I do come from a former district, and I looked into what Fair Lawn was doing during the summer. I was very impressed on how they provided information, significant information. We, my former district, we did hold these meetings at night, and we wasted our time, because similar to here, there were very few complaints after being told all the information was going to be taught in health classes. But we still ran the meetings. And then we canceled the meetings afterwards because we had one person show up for one grade level, 2 people show up for grade level. It was a waste of our time. So I think we're in the same situation here. Fair Lawn has done a very good job in giving all the information that they need to know. How many opt-outs have there been, Nick?
I do not have those, that they.
It's not a significant number, I don't
No,
think.
I mean, have we seen an increase? Sure, I think every district in the state and the country has seen an increase in opt-outs, but I don't think it's anything where people are screaming from the rooftops right now. And I'm not discounting any parent for opting out for 1 second, because I said, this is a real conversation that you have to have at home. But for here, I think we've been very transparent.
And I just want to underscore the point that the information on the website is detailed, is extensive, and if a parent looks at that, they'll know whether or not they want to opt out. And I think that's more than enough.
Thank you. Lisa?
So, not to drag this down, the community's divided. I'm not saying everybody said, there were people that said it was fine, and there were people that were generally upset by it. I looked at Great Body Shop, it's a nationwide program. It doesn't include, the state mandated things that are different than the rest of the country. That's what I saw when I was at Great Body Shop. And as far as opting out, I know, in one particular school that, all the parents were opting out of, the curriculum in specific school, specific grade, and the teacher said, I've been doing this for 15 years, and anything I don't feel is age appropriate, I will not teach. So I'm not sure that that's how, I just said, kind of just went, okay, and I want to bring that to the attention, is that it's not up to the teacher what gets opted in and opted out of the curriculum. And so if the teacher says, I've been doing this for 15 years, and if I don't find it age appropriate for the kids that I'm teaching, I'm not going to teach it. I don't think it's up to that teacher to do that. So, again, the community is divided in both ways. A lot of people do not, as we know recently, they do not reach out. They take the word of what the person said. So what happened was, the whole class that was opting out said, oh, well, if she's gonna teach something that's inappropriate, then boom, I'm not gonna opt out anymore. And that doesn't create a problem anymore. So I'm just, that's one instance, and I think it's a valid instance, and I grew up where I was in 6th grade and I learned about the birds and the bees, and my kids went to Radburn School and learned about the birds and the bees in the 5th grade. But to take it any lower than that, I feel that it has to be, addressed in, with the parents. And I've seen communities that have more detailed information, but also a one-on-one. It doesn't, if it's, grades kindergarten through 2 and then 2 to 4, it can only be wrapped around, a couple of meetings. So that's it.
Got it. Mike?
I was through the town this past fall. I had 2 people ask me about it. Actually, once while I was campaigning, and I turned it over to. But once when I was campaigning and once afterwards, I think that, it's our job to show them where they could find the information. And parents from K to 4 spend an evening with their children, with their teachers, with their child's teachers. And I believe that comes up in some of those meetings. If someone wanted to ask the question during back to school night.
That's when that was done.
Could I have a point of order that?
I'm talking.
I got it, everybody calm down.
Okay, as far as misinterpreting maybe what teachers are saying about the curriculum, but I've talked to a lot of parents that want this curriculum, but it doesn't matter whether they want it or not, because if they don't want it, they have the opportunity to opt out. If they don't, short of that, it's a state mandate. So we have to follow the mandate. So I agree with you.
Julie?
So, as a parent of children in the district, I have firsthand received every pamphlet, K, 1, 2, and now 3, of the Great Body Shop. And for anybody who does want to research it, it is very easily accessible from our district website, and it provides the topic of study by grade and the specific detail of what will be discussed during your child's year. That being said, I actually want to refer back to what Mr. Vance has stated, which is that there isn't a problem. The problem right now is that this discussion is telling students in our district that they are not included, that they are not worthy of being themselves. The town of Fair Lawn and the school system as its own entity is a welcoming community that prides itself on diversity and inclusivity. These standards are designed to ensure that children understand that everyone has the ability to live their life in the way that suits them, no matter their gender, and to also help children to understand that every person deserves respect, no matter their identity or their expression. To denounce this curriculum is to tell our students that they do not matter, and that every student matters, regardless of their gender, their race, their skin color, their identity, their ability level, or other individual differences. We are a board of 9 who is here for every single one of our students, and it is our job to ensure they feel safe in our buildings every single day.
Finished? Julie?
I'm finished.
Rita?
I think knowledge is power, and I think having one meeting, grades 1 through 4, just explaining the curriculum, asking parents, do you have any questions? And if you do, raise your hand, you're more than welcome to answer. And having an environment where parents feel comfortable asking questions, and that's all. We're not saying not to do curriculum, or that's not what Mrs. Yorman says. Ms. Yorman says just have a conversation with parents, have one meeting, one night for K through 4, and just, if anybody wants to come here, we're gonna present what we're gonna do, and if you have questions, more than happy to answer you. And that's all she's asking. She's not asking you to do anything that's denouncing the curriculum or any shape or form, just so that people are aware, and if they had at least have an opportunity to ask questions about this. That's all I think this motion is. Maybe I misunderstood. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
Thank you. So I will say that the right for parents to decide their child's upbringing is a fundamental right, as I've learned in law school. It's a fundamental right recognized by the Supreme Court. And it's important that we provide the parents every opportunity to direct how their students are taught. Our district does that. All of the information is provided right on the website. Easily, I found it while sitting here. And I want to applaud the administration of how easy it was to find the overview of every lesson based on the state standard, based on the Great Body Shop, as well as opt-out forms for every grade level, and it's all up to date. So I think transparency-wise, it is all there. We are being extremely transparent as a board, and I don't see any other action necessary at this time.
Okay, I'm gonna call the vote.
Second.
Yeah,
The motion
No,
was
Ron
made.
just calling,
Yeah, he's just calling for a roll call vote.
Call for a roll
Yeah,
call?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
Do we go over what's yes and no, yeah?
No.
Yes.
No, yes or no, no, no.
May I?
Yes.
A yes,
Just to make sure.
a yes is to hold meetings, a no is to not.
Thank you.
Agreed, Mrs. Chairman, that's your motion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski?
No.
Mr. Banta? Dr. Bertolini?
No.
Ms. Fayeldevich?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
No.
Mr. Rosenberg?
No.
Mr. Spindell?
No.
Ms. Yerman?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarula?
No.
Motion fails.
Anything else under, new business, or anything on business from board? Other business? Joe?
I will not make a motion. I simply wanted to applaud the students of last week, the cabaret night at the high school, the students of the American Musical Theater Program, directed by Mr. Derisi. A phenomenal job by all of them to get up on that stage and to perform a solo or duet. It's incredible, and I am always impressed by the talent of our students. I also wanted to recognize that this month is School Board Recognition Month. So I wanted to recognize my colleagues here and our colleagues across the state on all 581 school boards across New Jersey for the work that we are constantly doing across New Jersey. And that we encourage all residents to continue working with us. And elected volunteers, well, some are appointed, and encourage residents to engage with us and our public school officials to ensure that we continue to enhance our students' education. So, that's it.
I wanted to make the last statement. Michael wanted to say something.
Well, I'm gonna say something, so.
Okay, so let me make it now.
I mean, you can wait till that's.
No, since we're applauding individuals, I wanted to applaud the board for how we conducted ourselves tonight. It seems like our meetings are getting more and more civic-minded and more minded that we don't want to insult others. So I wanted to seriously to say that and applaud all of us.
And I'm not gonna get to that, but you spoke about it, but go ahead. You're done?
I'm done.
You want to speak something?
Yeah.
Let's not ruin it.
That's right.
No, you got three, let's go.
No, I get to get another two out.
Just keep going. You got 2 more minutes.
What was the gentleman's name that was at our schools this week?
Well, that's what I was gonna speak about, but go ahead.
Chris Singleton. I wasn't able to go, it's a shame, I wasn't, because I love going to programs like that. I wasn't able to attend last Wednesday night, but I won't, whatever night it was. But I do wanna say something, because this is important. I have never seen as many positive comments about someone that has come into our schools as this gentleman had, from parents, from kids. The kids were so excited about him. That Mr. Norcia, if possible, if we could get more programs like this into the district, I've just, sometimes they're a dime a dozen. Sometimes the kids see these assemblies and hear from these people, and I know from teaching middle school that they don't get everything that they could get out of it, because they're middle school kids, and they're all interestingly diverse in their opinions. But again, I saw something this week, and speaking to middle school kids that saw this gentleman, and I've just never seen such positive comments. And really good job to whoever made arrangements for this gentleman to come in. Kudos, good job.
Team effort. Chris, I'm not gonna steal your thunder, I just wanted to say this. The measure of success when it comes to a middle school assembly is when nobody speaks and nobody goes to the bathroom. So that's when you knew, when you were sitting there and those kids were engaged the whole entire time, every assembly. It was unbelievable. So yes, thank you, appreciate it. It was a team effort across the board by the district. Sorry, Ron.
Well, thanks for saying everything I want to say. No, I don't care, I'm gonna repeat it. First of all, Lisa and Rita and myself were at the thing last Thursday night. There wasn't as many parents there. Unfortunately, in this town, Thursday night was cabaret night. There was actually middle school basketball going on across the way in the gym, and I know there's basketball, sports other places. So unfortunately, in this town, at certain times, there's multiple things going on, and no matter what, at the end of the day, parents want to see their child perform, play, whatever the case is. His message, the thing I loved the most about it was really, it was short and to the point. Like, he didn't speak for 2.5 hours, where he said after 45 minutes, when's this guy gonna stop? And the thing, I was fortunate enough to go up and introduce myself and speak to him, and what I said to him the most, I said, you know what, Chris, the thing I admire the most about you is you took a tragedy and you turned it into a positive. And the way you're doing it is just what this world needs today. And I think the more people that could do what he does, the better place this world will be to live, because he's teaching, especially our young people, it doesn't matter what shape you are, what color you are, what religion you are, whatever. And there's always a story behind what that child is going through. And, you know, I went home that night and my wife asked me how it was, and I said, you know, I've seen a lot of inspirational speakers. I said, he blew me away. And the ironic thing was, my youngest son, who's 20, is very much into baseball and history and everything else. And the other day, he actually mentioned Chris Singleton, that's on his game. And I said, you know who Chris Singleton is? I go, yeah. I go, he was actually here Thursday speaking. And he's like, you're kidding, you know, that. So if I'm correct, he is supposed to be coming back in March to.
He's coming back to the high school.
He's coming back to the high school.
Students. And one of the things that came up was, I know the parent turnout was low, and we had said that if possible, if the board wants, and we're gonna provide more information, if we want to do another parent night at the high school and heavily advertise it as much as we possibly can, just sending as many messages out as we can, but it's not for now, it's for another discussion.
Yeah.
But we did talk about when he was here, if we could maybe capitalize on that and try to do another parent night, because it was so worth it.
Okay, and I got you.
I just wanna add to what you're saying.
Go ahead, you're gonna have before I finish, go ahead. Okay.
So, I think one of the greatest things was when he spoke, he didn't speak about all of his accolades when he was a pro baseball
Nope.
player.
Nope.
And he hit a cycle in one of the major league games, and that in itself would be a bragging point for a normal person, and it wasn't for him. He was very focused and hit right on point, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought the funniest thing was what he was talking about, because he literally raised his brother and sister. And he said he was too strict with his brother. His brother was like getting annoyed with him. But like I said to him, I said, you know what, you are your mother. You walk in your mother's shoes. The last thing to what Mark said tonight, I do want to commend everybody, and I think going forward, this is the way we should be. One thing I'll say to everybody on this board, whatever we do here, whatever ideas we have, whether it fails, passes, whatever it is, each one, it's not personal, it's business. We have to do what's best for the children of Fairlawn and the district. That's it. And, you know, I had a nice conversation with Rita, and I mentioned that to her, and I was amazed. Rita said that's a line from The Godfather, and I was very impressed, which is true. But like I said, going forward, that's what it's all about. It's about the children, okay? It's all about the children. And then, yes, the taxpayers after that, we've got to keep that all in mind, everything else. But again, I want to commend everybody. It was a nice meeting. I think it was a very productive meeting, and it's a way to end the meeting. So, I need a motion to close? So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Everyone have a great night. Oh, next minute, I apologize. One thing before everybody leaves. This is our new business administrator. I forgot to introduce him, Ms. Mancuso, and I want to welcome her to Fairlawn. Today is actually her first day. You did a lot of writing over here, so thank you.
Nice job, Danielle.
All right, this is Danielle.
And thank you to Melissa.
And thank you for Melissa for everything you did for us the last month and a half. You're great, and you're still great, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
All right, thank you to our tech people.
I know
Oh, yes.